What's up guys, and welcome back to Wall Street Millennial. Today we're doing a video about Bjorngolfur Gomundsson. Bjorngolfur was once Iceland's richest man with a net worth of $1.1 billion. But in the span of less than 1 year, his net worth declined to zero. In this video, we'll go over how Bjorngolfur built his business empire and how it all came crumbling down. In 1941, Bjorngolfur was born in the Icelandic capital city of Reykjavik. Iceland is a small island nation sitting in between Scandinavia and Greenland. With a population of 350,000, it is roughly the size of St. Louis. He pursued a successful business career and in 1977 became a director at the shipping company Hafskip. At the time, the Iceland shipping industry was controlled by a duopoly consisting of Hafskip and rival shipping company Eimskip. Initially, the two companies could coexist peacefully, as there was ample demand shipping goods between Europe and the United States. But this all changed in the 1980s when American shipping companies entered into the Icelandic trade routes. With increasing competition, there was only enough room for one Icelandic shipping company to survive. Unable to pay back its debt, Hafskip's bank declared them to be in technical default. To add insult to injury, Hafskip's rival, Eimskip, bought Hafskip's ships from the bankruptcy auction at a fraction of their original value. After the bankruptcy, Bjorngolfur was also prosecuted for accounting irregularities at Hafskip during his directorship. He received a 12-month prison sentence suspended for 2 years. He avoided serving any time in jail because he did not commit any crime during the 2-year suspension period. Bjorngolfur viewed Hafskip's default in his own legal prosecution as unfair and orchestrated by his business and political rivals. He was an outspoken supporter of the Icelandic Independence Party, while the prosecution was aligned with the rival Progressive Party. They say that success is the best revenge. After this disgrace, Bjorngolfur made it his mission to surpass his former rivals at Eimskip by becoming the richest and most successful businessman Iceland had ever seen. With his reputation in the Icelandic business community greatly impaired, Bjorngolfur moved to Russia to make back his fortune. In the early 1990s, he lined up financing to purchase some old bottling machines from a company in St. Petersburg and started a bottling company called the Baltic Bottling Plant. He ran the business in conjunction with his son, Bjorngolfur Thor Bjorngolfsson, and it ended up being a huge success, and they sold it to Pepsi for a huge profit. They also started a brewery, which produced the premium Bochkarev beer, which was wildly successful in Russia. In 2002, they sold the brewery to Heineken for $400 million. With hundreds of millions of dollars in his pocket, Bjorngolfur returned to Iceland with the goal of becoming the country's first ever billionaire. In 2002, he and his son used their money to purchase a 45% controlling interest in Landsbanken, Iceland's second largest bank. Bjorngolfur named himself as chairman of the bank and started an aggressive growth strategy. They had 40 branches across the island, which sounds small by international standards. But given how small Iceland was, Landsbanken was the second biggest player in the industry, providing 40% of all corporate lending. But this was not enough for Bjorngolfur. With the domestic banking industry already saturated, he turned his attention to international expansion. Throughout the 2000s, Landsbanken went on an acquisition spree of European investment banks and institutional brokerage companies. They consolidated these international operations into Landsbanki Securities, which became a massive player in the European securities market. By 2007, they were the second largest institutional broker to companies listed on the London Stock Exchange as measured by number of clients. The expansion caused Landsbanken's revenues, profits, and share price to increase, giving it a market cap of more than $3 billion at the peak. His son Bjorngolfur Thor Bjorngolfsson also owned a sizable stake in the bank. The success of Landsbanken gave Bjorngolfur a net worth of $1.1 billion. This was a huge deal, as he and his son were the first ever billionaires in Iceland's history. In 2006 and 2007, Landsbanken launched an online savings account product called IceSave in the United Kingdom and the Netherlands. They lured customers with high interest rates of 5 to 6%. By 2008, they had 300,000 UK customers with 5 billion euros deposited, and 125,000 Dutch customers with 1.7 billion euros deposited. They used these deposits to invest in fixed income assets that were supposedly safe. Landsbanken was highly leveraged, and a significant portion of their assets were exposed to the real estate industry. When the bubble burst in 2008, the value of their assets decreased, pushing them into insolvency. At the time, the country's economy, and especially its stock market, were dominated by banks, which all had significant exposure to the real estate crash. By mid-2008, it became clear that the Icelandic banks were close to insolvency and their share prices went into freefall. The Iceland Stock Index fell by 95% from its 2007 peak. As foreign investors were selling their Icelandic stock holdings, they were also dumping their Icelandic kronas to convert them into other currencies. This caused the krona to depreciate in value by 35% against the US dollar. This was a big problem for Landsbanken. The deposits for Icesave were denominated in pounds and euros. With the bank's domestic assets depreciating and their foreign assets tanking in value because of the real estate meltdown, they had no way to pay the hundreds of thousands of IceBank customers. In October of 2008, Icesave suspended new deposits or withdrawals from their accounts because they simply didn't have enough money.
From the frozen steppes of Iceland to the streets of London, this is a cautionary tale of global banking. Once upon a time, in Iceland's newly deregulated banking sector, the country's second largest bank, Landsbanki, wanted to attract international customers. So it set up a London-based online account service called Icesave. It seemed like a great deal, offering rates as high as 7%. More than 300,000 British depositors jumped in with $7 billion in funds. Now, as noted on Icesave's website, deposits of up to $61,000 were guaranteed, but with a catch. The first $28,000 were guaranteed by the Icelandic government. The remainder would be compensated by the British. When the credit crisis hit, Iceland's economy started to crumble. Russia and Sweden pumped in billions to keep the country afloat. The currency plummeted so fast, Iceland was forced to freeze trading, and Landsbanki taken over by the government. British depositors rushing to withdraw from Icesave were greeted by this chilling note on the website. And with Iceland on the verge of bankruptcy, any guarantees were now in doubt.
The UK and Netherlands governments ended up paying Icesave's customers for their deposits, costing them about 7 billion euros. After this, there is a multi-year legal dispute between the Icelandic, UK, and Netherlands governments over repayment of the losses. As for Landsbanken, it was nationalized by the Icelandic Financial Supervisory Authority. The government provided the liquidity for its branches to still operate and make good on its domestic liabilities. As part of the government takeover, Bjorngolfur was removed as chairman. As a result of the nationalization, all existing shareholders in the bank lost their entire stake. This was very bad for Bjorngolfur as he had more than 100% of his net worth in Landsbanken shares. He had borrowed money against his stake in the bank. When this became worth nothing, he was stuck with $750 million worth of debt and forced to file for personal bankruptcy. In the 2000s, he purchased the British soccer team West Ham United as a vanity project. As part of the bankruptcy settlement, he had to turn over the team to his creditors. Bjorngolfur's son, Bjorngolfur Thor Bjorngolfsson, was also taken to the brink of bankruptcy by Landsbanken's disaster. However, he was able to strike a deal with his creditors, whereby he would maintain control of many of his assets and pay back his debts over a longer period of time. He also maintains his role as chairman of Novator, a London-based private equity fund which he founded. He's made a remarkable comeback, having been able to repay most of his debts. He returned to billionaire status and is currently the only Icelandic billionaire alive today. He and his private equity firm have made successful investments in online cycling company Zwift, food delivery company Deliveroo, online payments company Stripe, as well as cryptocurrencies. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video. What do you think about Bjorngolfur's epic fall from grace? Let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss future uploads. As always, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next video. Wall Street Millennial, signing out.